Welcome to Wild Ginger Running live chat. Today I am here with Nikki Love. Hello, Nikki.
Hi there.
And she is going to be talking to us about a really exciting 4,000 kilometre journey across her home country of Australia. So Nikki, when are you going on this amazing big adventure?
Right, I start my running on August the 25th, but I'm heading to Australia in July the 23rd. So that will be enough time to go say hi to mum and dad, and then get myself ready to start the run.
Fantastic. So quick hi, so you're from Australia, obviously. So for anybody who's not met you before, not seen you talking at all the shows that you get around to, just tell us a little bit about your background, like growing up in Australia and how you got into running.
Okay, so I was actually born in England, but mum and dad moved to Australia when I was a baby. So I grew up in Australia. I started running at high school. We were kicked out of school and told to go do a cross country, and I absolutely loved it. I know a lot of people don't get that same experience, but for me it was such an adventure because I'd always done ballet. I'd done ballet from the age of 4, and then at 13 I got told to go run out in fields, and all of a sudden this athleticism was transferred into from ballet was transferred into this running, and we were let out, and it was just like, wow, this is I'm outside, I'm running, I'm sweating, it's great. I was and so that was my love of running. I found out that I was fairly okay at it. I made the school team.
Wow.
It sounds better than it was. It was a 3K run. I didn't run the whole way, but it was at that point that I thought, well, actually, if I do a little bit of training, I might be able to. So that's when I started learning about actually setting targets and setting goals. So I started at trying to run 1 kilometre without stopping, and then it was 2 kilometres, and then 3 kilometres. That happened to be around my mum and dad's house. There was a kilometre around the houses.
Wow, so that's when you started, and so I'm hearing from everybody on the live that there's a bit of an echo when you talk, so should we just check that out first of all?
Right.
So if people could say what kind of echo it is. I've deleted, it's probably, maybe it's my Skype. It says the sound's really bad. It could be from my end. It's raining here a lot, and my connection's really terrible. So if people on the live chat, could you let me know if is it my voice that's really hard to hear, or is it Nikki's voice that's really hard to hear? Let's just get a feel for that, and then I can work it out. Sorry, Nikki.
That's all right. That's fine.
Shall I say anything?
Yeah, if you say something now, so I'll just go to the next question. So just remind me, there's no echo when I speak, so just an echo when Nikki speaks. Okay.
I've just heard that now that I'm hearing feedback from what I'm saying. So
yeah.
Shall I take my headphones out?
Yeah, let's try that and see if that helps. Yeah, sorry. It's always tricky using new technology, isn't it? I don't think I can hear you at all now, though. Yeah, I can't hear you at all now. Just, so what are you doing now? Sorry, everybody. We should have one of those test cards, shouldn't we? Like, boop, and that picture of that girl that comes up. Oh, I can hear you.
I'm sorry, because once I took my headphones out, I could not hear a thing. So
yeah, I couldn't hear you either. Is it
right?
Don't worry, everyone's finding this very amusing. So is it still echoing, everybody? we'll just carry on and see what they say. Maybe if you just turn the volume down slightly, because on your actual computer, so that we can do sign language. Someone's saying.
Right. I'm actually on my phone, so I'm just hoping that makes a difference.
Yeah, I just can't think of what's echoing apart from maybe it's my computer echoing through the feed. So whenever you talk, I could mute it, but then I won't hear what you're saying.
This is going to be great.
Yes, it's going to be great. We'll keep it short and sweet. But we'll just carry on as best we can, because it is live, so all sorts of stuff goes on. So I forgot where we were now. You said you used to run 1 kilometre around your parents' house.
Yes. So that's how I got started with the running. Just fell in love with this whole thing of running. It was the adventure of running that really grabbed me. I know it was only 3Ks, and I know it was only through fields near
my school, but it seemed like such an adventure.
And that's sort of what stuck with me since.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a really good experience compared to some people who have a terrible experience when they first do running, like I did. So then, how did you progress from there? Did you do a lot of running then in your teens and 20s and that kind of thing?
I used running pretty much as a background thing. I wanted to do ballet, so I concentrated on ballet. Running was my ability to get outside, but also to try and keep my weight down. There was all sorts of issues there with being wanting to do ballet and be a ballerina, which was it wasn't the greatest, and it was a different time. I could just say that is that I'm 52 years old, so this is a long time ago, I was told that I was too big. I had to lose weight.
As in too fat?
Yeah, too fat.
Oh,
too
I hate that. That's terrible, isn't it?
It is, but it like I said, it was a different time, a different era, I was encouraged to lose weight, to do all sorts of things to try and fit into this mold of what a ballerina was supposed to look like, it caused a few issues with body issues, but it wasn't until I was 19. At 16, I gave up ballet. I said, right, I can't do this. I can't get into the shape that I needed to be. I had to be in. I'm not sure whether I was good enough or not, but it was more around my body shape. I went to the gym, and it was a gym instructor at my gym who said, well, actually, Nikki, you're very strong. You're great with people. You have great musicality. Why don't you come and work in the gym? And I found this alternative to use the strengths that I did have, which was I was quite athletic, and got into the fitness industry that way. And that's how the running progressed from just something that was in the background to something that I do now. I then learned how to eat properly rather than in a negative way, which was enforced of you've got to lose weight. So there was a great big change, and this is the sort of stuff that I like to talk about specifically with kids, is to find that the love and the fun and the adventure of the running, rather than be the have this negative thing of trying to. It has a positive impact. It does on your weight and your body shape and all that, and your health, your body internal health. But without focusing on that as the driver.
Yeah, that could have been really damaging for you at such a young age as well. And I'm really pleased that you made that decision to leave the ballet, because that's ridiculous, isn't it? That you need to be a certain level of thinness to be a professional ballerina. I mean, like, as long as a man can pick you up and do all those moves with you, then what does it matter?
Well, it was, like I said, it was another time, another place, and we came out of it, so that's all right.
Yeah.
And it was a good. So you always have this choice of how you let things impact you. And for me, it was a starting place from to be where I am now. So if I keep looking at it that way, is that I've learned a lot. I'm now a stronger person, and I see the fun and the value of what I do. So, I may not have learnt that if I'd continued down the road I was on.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a tough road to continue down the one you were on. And do you bring any of the skills that you've learnt from the ballet into your running then, do you think?
I think I'm very lucky because posture is one of the key things that you learn at ballet. So posture is such an important part of running and staying as injury-free as possible. So I've taken that skill and run with it. That's I think has been sort of like the key to me being able to run distances that I run without seemingly getting injured. So it's definitely a beautiful crossover.
Yeah, that is brilliant, because running that far, you definitely want to keep injuries at bay for sure. I mean, anyone does, even if they're just running a short distance or park run. So have you got a few tips that you could share with us about the posture aspect that you've learned from ballet? What can we all learn from ballet?
So what you learn to do is look very calm and relaxed on the top while the little legs are going like crazy down below, very swan-like, and that's part of running. If you can run with your back up but forward, so and less tension in your shoulders, and have that sort of like that slight lean forward. And it's from the hips, so being able to differentiate the body parts and all that sort of stuff, it makes your running more ease or look easier. And that's how running is supposed to look. If you watch the greats of it, like Mo Farah, he looks so graceful and easy running, and then he can kick, and it still looks graceful and easy. And I think that's get yourself to a ballet class and learn how to do that, and watch your running slightly improve.
Yes, that could be really good cross training, couldn't it?
Yeah,
I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger also did ballet classes to improve his posture for the poses that he had to do with his weights as well. So many a top athlete in a totally different sphere has turned to ballet to help them improve themselves. So that's brilliant. That's good advice as well. Leaning slightly forwards and then using your legs right from where they start, like all the way up here, rather than just imagining your legs that are down below your hips.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because Shane Benzie told me that your legs, if you ask a Kenyan runner where their legs start, they'll point to the top of their bum area because of the muscle that goes all the way up to sort of pretty much up here. And so they'll say that their legs start sort of up there, whereas we'd say that our legs start like right down there, wouldn't we, at the quad muscles?
At the hip, at the ball and socket joint. I've had so many conversations with Shane about this and sort of done this whole theory about how ballet did help with the posture, and it really, really is sort of up and relax while the legs go.
Yeah, pal for leather below. Oh, that's really interesting. I think that's just beautiful how you've used one sport as a sort of springboard to another sport. It's absolutely fantastic. So just while we're on the topic of other sports, do you do any other sort of cross training for your running? Like maybe do you do ballet still? Some ballet?
I don't do ballet, but from leaving ballet, I went and started working in a gym, so became a gym instructor, a personal trainer. So I really concentrate on the movements that I don't do whilst I'm running. So lots of sideways movements. So that's to try and get the whole body, keep it balanced. So it's all about making sure you have a balanced body. And running in the distances I do and the length of time that I do in one position is not so great for the body. So you have to do these extra things. So a fair bit of core work. And upper body strength. So, press ups, or I call them push ups. So I think that's maybe the Australian version. So press ups are really good because it holds teaches you to hold your core tight, builds body strength up top, it's a great exercise, but lots of sideways movements to work the sides of the glutes that don't get the work when you are just running. So all these extra little bits just help to keep the body balanced and strong.
That's fantastic, and I'm going to ask you to share another little bit of advice with us now, Nikki. So have you got like a top 3 of sort of strength and conditioning moves that you would recommend to other runners, just to mix it up and get them doing those sideways movements you were talking about?
Right, a side lunge is great. What I tend to do though is rather than go directly out to the side, I go turn to the back to a 45-degree angle at the back. So it adds a little bit of a twist, and then it's also the sideways movement. So it's trying to. I like to do exercises that give you more bang for your buck. So I don't want to spend a lot of time exercising outside of the running. So I try and put a few things together. So it is that sort of a sideways lunge out to the quarterback. Doing a burpee is a fantastic exercise because it involves so many body parts. I call mine a surfy burpee. So I go down onto the ground all the way down, and then when I push up, I'm like popping up on a surfboard, and I twist my body up. So again, trying to get
you sort of twist to the side.
Yeah,
great.
As if you're standing on a surfboard. So you do this the burpee part, and then jump up to a twist. So as if you're standing on a surfboard. So that's my surfy burpee.
Cool. I like that. I've not heard of that one before, so that's a really good one. I'm going to get some of my clients to do that with my personal training stuff.
The third one, one that I really like, and just be a bit careful, is there's 2 versions. I either put a medicine ball between my legs and do my leg raises up and down. So that's using the core muscles, the psoas muscle through the tummy, and also uses the internal, the adductors, the internal of your legs, because you're holding your medicine ball between your legs. So you're getting a few things working there, or on a big Swiss ball, one of those big Swiss balls, is doing a pike. So rolling your legs out and bring them into your chest with your feet on the ball. So
I love doing that.
Does that make sense?
Always wobble off the ball.
Yeah, well, see, wobbling is a good thing because you're having to use more of your muscles to stabilize. So it's actually a good thing to be a little bit uneven because you have to engage more.
Cool. Oh, that's good. I'll mention that to myself next time I'm wobbling around. It's always really embarrassing in the gym, isn't it, when you're on everyone else is doing a perfect in and out with this medicine ball thing, with your big Swiss ball thing, and you're the one falling off the side of it left and right. I used to do this class called Core on the Ball, and it just built up the exercises. So if you went every week, you'd be a real pro on the ball, and the instructor could actually do this sort of handstand on the ball. Have you ever seen someone do that?
No.
It was crazy. He would just be handstanding on the ball, or maybe he'd have his hands on the ground, he has his head on the ball, and he was up in the air. Either way, he was vertical, and there was a Swiss ball involved. So we've done how you started running, and we've done what you do to stay uninjured. I've noticed that you did the race to the tower just the other day. It popped up on your Instagram. Obviously you've been training hard for this run across Australia that you were telling us about at the beginning. So is that part of your training then? Have you just been doing longer and longer ultras? How's that been working?
Yeah. So I'm in my building phase at the moment. So it is I've got it's just 2 and a bit months left, so I'm building. So the race to the tower was actually a really good race where I was able to do a double marathon. I didn't run all the way through. I didn't want to push myself in that way. I wanted to do the double. So I've got to get my body used to getting up and going the next day and the next day and the next day. So running a marathon was a good length for me at this stage. Over the next month, that distance is going to increase, and I'll do double days in training the closer I get. Probably I won't go much further than running 55 Ks on a double day, even though my target is going to be 63 Ks a day. That's one of those things, is that I work on the mental side of it as well as the physical side. I know I'm going to be able to do it when the time comes, and all I can do is build my body to be strong as we get just to when we get started. And then the first 2 weeks of the adventure, that's probably when I do the most training. It sounds a bit silly that you say the first 2 weeks of your actual event are the training, but that's how long it takes for the body to get into that zone of, all right, you're going to be doing 40 miles or 63 kilometers a day. The first week the body goes, and then the second week it starts throwing little tantrums. So it's like the terrible twos. Your body throws tantrums. It hurts. It gets niggles. It's rebelling against what you're asking it to do. And by the third week, it's sort of like it's starting to understand, oh, we're actually doing this, and you're going to keep going, are you? So, all right, then I may as well join in and have a good time here. So that's pretty much how the training sort of leads. I build it up slowly, and then the first couple of weeks are intense training.
Wow, that sounds really very sensible to me, because you wouldn't want to overcook yourself before you even get there. You can't really, am I right in saying you can't really train for this kind of event?
I don't know. I'm guessing as much, but I've done this a couple of times, and this has worked for me. So, every time I do an adventure, I learn something more about what has worked and what hasn't worked, which is a great way to sort of like finish an adventure, is to go back, sort of have appreciate and give yourself the time to think about it, and then go back and say, is there anything I could change? Is there anything I could improve? And then sort of go, all right, maybe the next time. So that's how I go about it, and that's how I've managed to sort of like build it up. So it makes perfect sense to me to sort of keep pushing the boundary.
Yeah, that's incredible. So just for anybody who doesn't know what your previous challenges have been, just take us through that. Like, what was the first big thing that you ever did, in your opinion, the first big thing?
So if I say how I came about this whole long distance running, I attempted my first marathon in 2001, and I got to 19 miles and I gave up. And that was it. And I had a choice at that point of, right, do I give up on this idea of running a marathon, or do I go away and work a little bit harder at it and give it another go? And that's what I did. I chose to give it another go. I ran London Marathon 6 months later, and then I did another London Marathon, and the third time I got an entry, I thought, right, well, I've done two marathons before. What can I do this time that will be different? How can I push myself? Because the idea is to try and, improve. So I then tried 7 marathons in 7 days, and that was in 2010.
Wow.
In 2000,
so you just went from, I've done a couple of marathons, now I'm going to do 7. Yes, that is the thing to do. Was that an organised thing, or did you organise that yourself?
Well, I got a place at the London Marathon, so I decided that the 7th marathon was going to be London, and I would do 6 marathons prior to that around my hometown. So I did 6 unorganised or organised by me marathons, and then the 7th I went to London and did that. And at the time, I had wanted to do more. Now, I'd read a book by Dean Karnazes, who's going to be at the running show, his 50 and 50 book. And I read that book once, twice, 3 times, and something inside of me said, why don't you try and do something like that? I said that I was going to run 30 marathons in 30 days. I don't know where I got the 30 from.
Wow.
But everybody around me. No, I wasn't. I don't know why, but that does come later because at the time, the people around me said, no, Nikki, you can't do that, and gave me the great big long list of reasons why it was going to be impossible for me to run 30 marathons in 30 days. And I listened to them. So I opted for 7. And thankfully, I did opt for 7 because on the 8th day I couldn't move. I was bedridden. That was it. I was done. But I learnt a lot from those 7 days. And what I also learnt from there was that I thought that I was capable of doing more. And that's where I went back and did the analysis and thought, what can I improve? How can I do this better? How can I go further? Everybody around me said, can you please stop? Can you just not ever do that again? And it then took me another 6 years before I was strong enough mentally to say, no, actually, you know what? I want to go back to that. I want to do more. And that's when I thought, right, I'll go back to the original thing, which was Dean Carnesie's 50 and 50. I'm about to turn 50. Maybe I should do 50 marathons in 50 days. And that's when I started looking at the Guinness World Record and found an article about a woman who'd done 60 marathons in 60 days, a British woman. And I thought, well, 50 sounds like 60, and if I'm going to do 50, then I may as well try for the 60.
Wow.
And if I'm going to do the 60, then I may as well try and beat it. So from there, I did my 63 marathons in 63 days.
Wow. And what year was that in?
So that was in 2017.
Wow.
So that was the year I turned 50. So 50 was pretty much a big catalyst, which was all these things going through my head is like, I hadn't done anything in a long time. I really thought that I should get back to doing this thing that I wanted to do, the adventure side of things, challenge myself. The thought, if not now, when, came up. It's like, well, I'm only going to be getting older. Why not give this a go now? What's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that could happen is that I don't make it. And that's not a bad thing, so long as I give it a go, because I'd rather give it a go than think about it for the rest of my life that I wasn't brave enough to try it.
That's
kind of how it's gone from there.
That's amazing. I'd rather give it a go now than have to think about it for the rest of my life. You've just got to do these things, haven't you? I'm just intrigued as to who those people were that were telling you can do all these things, because you're supposed to surround, like everyone, all these inspirational people, they tell me, oh, you've got to surround yourself with people who tell you can do it, and then you believe in yourself and they believe in you, and it's sort of like a double whammy. Like, did you sort of disassociate from these people, or are they hard to get rid of?
Kind of.
Could be in family.
So there's a couple of reasons why people say things to you, and it's because they don't understand what it is that you're capable of. It seems too scary to them. They want to protect you. So there's all these good things that people are trying to do for you, but then there's also the other things that are like, no, you're not capable of doing that. And I did have this mix of people around me who just doubted me, and I listened to that, and that in turn made me doubt myself. And like I say, it took a long time for me to actually change that point of view and actually say, no, I want to give this a go. I want to believe in myself. I'm going to give this a go. And the people around me now are different. So rather than say, so I come up with some stupid, crazy ideas as it sort of shows. But the people around me now say, okay, how can we make this happen? Rather than say, well, that's just way too crazy, Nikki.
Yeah.
And so you start building a group of people that are going to be a more supportive the more you do. But one thing, if I can suggest to anybody, is that you're going to have to learn to be your own cheerleader. And when you've got that, if you can join groups and clubs and get people to cheerlead around you, fantastic. But ultimately, you have to be the person that is going to take the steps. So become your own best cheerleader, your loudest cheerleader, and get that group around you, so that when you're having a bad day and you can't cheerlead yourself, there will be people who are there saying, come on, you can do this. So yes, it didn't start ideally, but you know what? I'm a stronger person for it, and that's always a good thing.
Definitely.
And honestly, these people weren't horrible. They just weren't in the same places where I wanted to be.
They probably didn't think anyone could do it. It wasn't personal to you. They were just like, well, that's just a crazy idea, because I don't know anyone else who does that. And
exactly.
Yeah, and there was a time, wasn't there, when the marathon was enough, wasn't there? Then people were running 7 marathons, and everyone was going, oh my God, 7 marathons. Now people are running ultras every day, like you plan to, 63 kilometres for 63 days across Australia, and everyone's like, oh yeah, you know, people just do that these days. It's like a little bit unfair, isn't it? Like nowadays you have to do a lot more. Like you'd have to probably, I don't know, like Anna McNuff, she's running barefoot down the length of Britain now, because running the length of Britain is not enough anymore. So like you're going to have to
come up with
I don't know,
wilder ideas.
Yeah, you're going to have to do it, I don't know, wearing some kind of crazy outfit, like a big wig or something, like a crazy pink afro or something.
I've talked about whether I should do something crazy like that, and you know what? I'm going to stick to what I know, which is just shuffle and slug it out.
Yeah, just do the running. Well, there's some lovely comments coming up on the live chat now. Ruth Ellis is saying that she agrees with you. You have to be your own cheerleader, because you always get people who just don't get it. So she thinks that's awesome advice. So thanks for that. And she also wants to know, actually, if you've got any advice for a lady in her late 40s who's running her first trail half marathon in September.
So normally I would say, look up and watch where you're going and enjoy it. On a trail, be a little bit more careful about where you're putting your feet, but enjoy it. I don't know what sort of advice are you talking about, running advice, or just this belief that she can do it, because concentrate in terms of working the belief system is always think that you are capable. I always write that I have done all the things that I've done. So I do a lot of visualization. So I always write that I have done the thing that I'm planning on doing. So before I did my 63 marathons, for about 18 months beforehand, I wrote in my diary every day, I have run 63 marathons in 63 days. It's a brain trick, not trick, but it's actually a brain works science, that the brain, or the subconscious, believes everything that it reads and reads and sees. So you tell yourself that you are going to do this. And technically wise, just be careful where you put your feet.
Well, so Ruth should be writing already. Like this week, we should get Ruth to be writing. I have done my first trail half marathon. And by September, she'll just be like, oh, maybe I should have signed up to the marathon.
That's pretty much how I started. I would write my list of things that I wanted to do, but also the things that I had done, so that it was just a continual sentence. And sure enough, everything that was on the other side of things I hadn't actually done yet have all come true, because I've just written them out, and they have become a thing, because you actually start taking action to create the reality of what you're writing.
Yeah, it's sort of like solidifying that aim in your head before you've even done it. So you just have this massive belief system set up around you. That's really, really interesting trick. I think I'm going to try that too. And then there's another question from John Gardner here, and he says, how long did it take you to build up to doing a marathon every day? How long does that take you?
So once I decided that I was going to do that, I think it was about, I'm going to say a year. Actually, this is exactly what happened. I decided that I was going to run the 63 marathons. I didn't tell anybody. What I did is I entered the Jungle Ultra, which was a 5-day event, and, you know, really tough, self-supported, or self-sufficient. And whilst I was running that, I had this plan in my head: I'm going to run 63 marathons. And when I came back from the jungle, I broke my leg. I'd gone through this entire jungle where it was the most crazy terrain possible. I came home, went to my local woods, and broke my leg.
Oh my goodness! How did it even happen?
I landed on a tree root. So I just put my foot down wrong, which is why I was saying, watch where you put your feet.
Yeah, to Ruth. Yeah, watch your feet, Ruth.
Yeah. And at that point, it was like, right, okay, now I'm definitely going to run the 63 marathons. So from that point on, 12 months, it was actually 14 months, I concentrated on getting myself fit and healthy again. So I had to start from scratch. My foot had been, or my leg had been in a cast for, it wasn't the whole 6 weeks. I think it was 5 weeks. My foot came, I came out. I started walking straight away to try and start building that the strength back. So I started right from the very beginning again. So I went from a 0 to a 5K, and I followed a 5K program, and then I just built it over the next 14 months. But actually breaking my leg made me more determined that I was going to make sure that I did this 63 marathons before anything else happened. I was going to give it my best shot. So actually, it was a great trigger.
I love how you turn anything negative in your life into this massive positive. It's absolutely brilliant and a great lesson for everybody to learn. I know Ruth was really pleased with your answer to her question as well. She thinks you're amazing, and she's going to start doing that right now. She loves that.
Cool.
So she said thank you very much for that one. And she'll definitely be watching where she puts her feet as well. So I love how you turn everything to a positive. And I do want to talk a little bit about your trip now and like your plans for it, because I've got some great questions from Guy Greatorex coming up. But he wants to know why, like, are you going to go mad with, like, there's nothing between the towns in Australia and you're going to be just running, like, literally with nothing for a few hours at a time? So I'm just wondering where you did your 63 marathons in 63 days in 2017, because presumably you've got this all worked out, you know how to deal with it.
Yep. So I have looked at the route, and the route through Western Australia from Perth, out of Perth. Once you go out of Perth, it gets a little bit, the space between people and towns gets pretty spacious. But then you get to the edge of the Western Australia border to the South Australian border, and from this all the way across to the other edge of South Australia, where it borders with New South Wales. It's one road. It's 1,500 kilometres thereabouts, and it's just one road. And there is about, I think the longest distance between road houses is about 250 kilometres. So that's 3 and a bit days of running without getting to another sort of roadhouse settlement. So yes, I've got to be on my own for a long time. I do have a crew, by the way. I have a crew of one who will be driving the van, and he'll be parked up ahead of me. But
is that your husband?
Yeah, Sharif. So we've practiced this, and we practiced it from the 63 marathons. Where, so going back to that part of the question, is I decided that I wanted to run through the UK. So this was going to be my touristy thing. An Australian runner on tour. So I wanted to see all the icons of the UK. So I started in John O'Groats, I had plotted my routes to make sure that I got to Land's End. I wanted to hit the west coast at St David's, and I wanted to hit the east coast as far east as I could on so I think Bournemouth was my not Bournemouth,
Brighton?
I can't think of. No, not Brighton. It was a little bit higher up.
Portsmouth?
Yeah, Great Yarmouth.
Great Yarmouth.
Yeah. So I didn't quite get over to that east coast because there was a storm Brian came to town, and it was very, very windy, and I sort of snuck back inland. But I chose 63 different locations depending on what it is that I wanted to see. So I ran Loch Ness Marathon. I ran around Ben Nevis. So all the iconic places in Scotland. And then I made my way through England and Wales. And it was basically going to all the places that I really wanted to visit and see. I spent some time, I had people with me running, and there was other days when I was on my own. We videoed it all, and those days I knew that I had to sort of just go through the motions and go through the hard slog of actually being able to run on my own. I did have this thing in my head that I knew that I was going to at some point run across Australia. So as far as I was concerned, this was all training. It was a practice run for this run across Australia. Since I did the 63 last year, I ran around Ireland, and again I spent a lot of time running by myself, just along roads, as training for this next one to run Australia. So yeah, you spend a lot of time or practicing dull and not dull, because I find all the places I run beautiful, but the more mundane runs. So I run along the canal now. I run along the canal. And I try and find the pretty things to look at. It's the same boring track day in, day out, but I try and look for maybe the always the positive side, but I try and look for the things that are different every single day.
Yeah, so you try and find the excitement in the normality and the not exciting. Yeah. So that's how you're going to get through between these 250 kilometre house point to house point. And so Guy has also, he's been looking at your blog, obviously, and he says that you're selling your house to fund the challenge. Is that right? Or are you just moving out for a bit and then moving somewhere else? How's that working?
No. Selling my house.
Wow, that's so much dedication.
Yeah, a bit of crazy thrown in there, but it is part of what it is that I want to do. So you have to. I have lots of little sayings that sort of keep me focused on what I'm doing, and one of them is that if you risk nothing, you gain nothing, and I'm willing to put everything on the line to do these things that I want to do. So whilst I am running across Australia, there is other things that are attached to this. So I go to schools and I talk to schools a lot, primary schools in particular, about hopefully getting them excited and enjoying and falling in love with running and adventure. So that's the sort of commitment and the direction that I'm taking this, is that there is a purpose behind it. And these adventures, they are fun. They sound fun. They also costly. So trying to lower my overheads whilst I'm doing this, because running 63 marathons, obviously I was away from work or home for 63 days. Running around Ireland, that was a month. This one to Australia, I'm gone for 3 months. So if I can lower my overheads, which is a house is one of them, and also then finance it, then hopefully come the end of it, there's also a sort of a thing behind it, which is that I'm going to be doing more talks at schools, which I do for free, by the way.
Wow.
But it's more corporate talks, writing a book.
Wow.
We're filming this, so hopefully we'll have a little film out of it.
Yeah.
But it's just changing the direction of what it was that I did before to earn money to this alternative way, and throwing myself in totally.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing is like, you burn your bridge, so therefore you have to do it. You have to get on with it.
Yeah.
So
there's always the van. You've got the van. You can come back with the van. And...
my van is the van that we got in Australia is going to be a hired one. The van that we bought here to do my 63 marathons is sitting broken. so the intention is with the funds of the house is to pay for the Australia thing. If anybody wants to know how much it costs, it's about 30 grand to do this.
Wow.
It's not a cheap sort of thing to do, but that's me paying for everything. So my job for the next 2 months is to try and lower those costs and get people to help me.
And things like
get some sponsors and instead of paying for everything, sort of try and get some freebies here and there, and also raise some money and through talks that I give and just pledges to be a part of it and help this out.
Fantastic. So the talks that you're doing, they're going to be in Australia, aren't they? For the children, as you run along, you're going to go to schools and do talks as you run along.
No, I did that during my 63 marathons and around Ireland, but this is going to be different. I won't have time to be able to do any sort of school visits and school talks during the actual event, but before and after, yes, I'll be doing that. And then when I come back, I'll be going back to the schools, because hopefully we've got quite a lot of schools who will be joining me virtually. So they run as a team at school, and they run at school, and they sort of try and do the same distance as I'm doing. So that's sort of like the school, as a team.
And that's in the UK.
Yeah.
So the talks are going to be in the UK, and you're doing the run in Australia, and they're all following you. That makes total sense now. That's great.
Yeah.
So we can also presumably track your daily mileage. Like we can track you.
Yes, you can. That's still a work in progress, but it will be there, and it will be on the website. So we're going to have some form of tracking. This sounds like we're still organising things, which we are.
Yeah, wow, it's still all underway, isn't it? And I'm sure, if we just keep directing everybody to your blog and to your Instagram, then people can just check you out on there and they can follow your progress, because it sounds like it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, so it will be that they can join me virtually to see how far they can get over 63 days. Then there's also watching me with the tracker, so we will have a tracker live. And then watching on all the social media outlets, because it'll be lots of live videos, as many as we can. I know there'll be a time difference and also issues with Wi-Fi, but we'll be putting out as much content as we possibly can during the whole 63 days.
And then you're going to be making a film of it. Presumably that's going to be shown at film festivals and everything like that.
That's the intention. That's the hope, that we'll have enough footage and enough quality footage to make something interesting out of it. So it's a friend of mine from Australia who's she has a production company, so she's looking at giving me advice and guidance on what we should be trying to capture, and then once it's finished, we'll sort of put our heads together and see what we can come up with. So see if we can make something interesting, purposeful, useful, inspiring, and hopefully there's a good end to the story.
Yeah, well, hopefully, because you're going for the Guinness World Record, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
63 marathons in 63 days across Australia.
That's
that was the old one.
Yeah, sorry. I just have to clear my voice. Sorry, sorry.
Okay.
A little bit of a sore throat. So what the Guinness record for crossing from Perth to Sydney is 67 days, held by a man, and the record's been there for 17 years. So I'm attempting to do it in 63 days, which means that I'll be running 63 kilometres a day for about 63 days. So
63 kilometres.
Yeah,
63 times 63.
Wow. Yeah. So that's pretty much, that's roughly what's going to happen. But I've sort of given a little contingencies that I might have to take some detours. Again, that's through experience that the roads that I chose to run around Ireland ended up not being great roads, and I had to go off and detour. But yeah, it's still sort of heading in the right direction. So that's so we've kind of just had a little bit of a play with that it should be 63 kilometres a day for 63 days. So I'm just taking my previous 63 marathons in 63 days and sort of increasing
them by quite a lot. 40 miles. Wow, that is incredible. What's the hardest part of doing a challenge like this, would you say?
There's all different types of hards. So at the moment, it is getting everything together. So the whole planning of everything and making sure that we've got everything that we need. But then when you break that down, so I have my big wish list of everything I need, but ultimately, what do I minimally need? And it will be trainers, running kit, a pair of shorts. So one pair of shorts, one t-shirt, one pair of trainers, and a van, and a person to cook for me. So you can do the minimum, or we've been working on the bigger project. So asking for absolutely everything, and somewhere in the middle we'll meet. So organising everything at the moment is the hard part. Then actually during the run, it's keeping my body going without injury. So luckily I have this fitness background. That's also as well as being a fitness instructor, a sports massage therapist. So I have this ability to make sure that I'm sort of like touching the places where it needs to be touched, to deal with injuries, or not injuries, hot spots, aches and pains. So that knowledge is really useful. And then it's the mind, making sure that the mind doesn't wander off. And it is tough going for that length of time. So that's 9 weeks. And through experience, I know that when I was running the 63 marathons on, week 6, 7, and 8, I'd be watching people out, running past them, having Sunday lunches and having beer, just doing things that weren't running related. And I'd be thinking, why am I doing this? This makes no sense. But then actually remembering the reasons why. So I was raising money for charity. I was getting kids involved in running. There was all these other reasons why I wanted to keep going to do this. So yeah, they're the hard parts of it, is trying to stay focused and get through the tougher times. And remembering the reason why you want to do it in the first place is very, very, very important. And I spend a lot of time working on that as well.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got it totally nailed so far, with all of your flipping any bad things into positive. It's absolutely inspiring. It's such good advice. And we've just got time. We're just coming up to the hour now, so we've just got time for one final question. I know, it's flown. It's been so lovely. So Go Kiwi asks, do you have any superfoods that you have during marathons like this that you rely on?
You want the good answer or the naughty answer?
Oh, the naughty answer for sure.
So I do have foods that I take in. So I do try and make sure that I have lots of protein and lots of vegetables, because my body needs those. So I do make sure that I eat those. But then I also burn a lot of calories. So I found that I need to sort of throw in some junk food there as well. So my go-to foods on an average day during these events would be bacon and eggs for breakfast and coffee, chicken thighs with the skin on, and avocado in bread rolls so that I can eat while I'm running. A few donuts, so that's the naughty part. Nuts and dried fruit. So my preference is cashew nuts and dried mango and sultanas or raisins. That mix. Then there would be probably a few more pieces of cake or donuts.
Yeah, I'm starting to like the idea now that all this food is involved.
And this was a tip from Ben Smith, is make sure you have a beer. His drink was cider. I have a beer.
So this is Ben Smith from the 401 marathon.
401 marathons
of 2016, was it that he did those?
Yeah.
For anti-bullying.
Yes. So he suggested having a cider, but I like to drink pale ale or real ale. That's the thing, pale ale. So finish with a beer.
Brilliant. That's also very good advice, and advice that I would definitely second here at Wild Ginger Running.
And then finishing off my day, I would have 2 dinners. So fish and chips was usually the one that I ate straight after running, and beer, and then probably a bit later on, I'd go back and have steak and veggies.
Yeah.
So that would be my normal day. And then it just depends.
Yeah, just whenever you can. The food of champions, guys. And we have just got, I did say that was the last question, but another question has just come in on the live chat from Guy Greatrix, who is very important. He's a patron on this channel, and he's really active and supportive in everything that we do. So we must answer his question, and that is, how many hours do you think that your 33 kilometres per day will take, roughly?
So I've worked out that I'll be on my feet for 10 hours a day. And that's sort of aiming at running, is it 4 miles an hour? So I'll probably run just a little bit faster, but then I'll take a little break and eat. So stop and eat, as well as eating whilst I'm running, but then have a little break to actually get a bit more food in me. So I'll be out there for about 10 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not fast. It's a nice, slow, steady pace, but it's a slow, steady pace that I have to keep doing day after day after day.
Yeah. It sounds like a big challenge, but it sounds like a challenge you can nail. I have every faith in you. Of course you're going to do it. I've already written down on my piece of paper here, Nikki has run 63k times 63 days across Australia. So you've done it already.
Well, it's in my diary too. So
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's written.
We've all written it in all our diaries. That is amazing. So I want to say a big thank you to you, Nikki, because it's just been so fantastic having you here on the show tonight. And
thank you.
I just I need to swap this around a bit. Oh, there we go. I just wanted to put our screens side by side because on the last I was just this little blob. But yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you for coming on, because you had such good advice about the strength and conditioning and about all these mental tricks that you play. And everybody on the live chat is now saying Nikki is awesome, and she'll definitely follow you on social media. That's from Ruth Ellis.
Thank you.
Guy Greatrix is saying you've really jumped into the deep end there.
Yes, I have.
So that's brilliant. Everybody is saying good luck. It sounds amazing. So I'm sure that everybody here on Wild Ginger Running is going to be following you come late August when you start your trip.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really do.
So that is fantastic. Everyone's saying all the best, very good luck for the adventure from Guy. A. Armstrong says, second that, Ruth. What a lovely lady. Sean Lockhart says he'll be following Nikki all the way. John Gardner says, yep, I really hope she makes it. I'll be thrilled to hear that Nikki has completed this huge goal. She's definitely going to make it. She's written it down, John. So yeah, everybody believes in you, and I'm sure that this will be a fantastic extra achievement to add to your bow.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for all the kind words and the love coming this way.
That's amazing. Cool. So I'll say goodnight to Nikki on the live chat now. You'll still be there on Skype with me, but we'll say bye to everybody on the live chat now. Bye, everybody.
Bye.